The emergency coolant systems were failing. Again. Captain Aria Rodriguez gritted her teeth, her neural implants flickering with a cascade of warning signals that painted the cockpit in angry crimson hues. Her prosthetic right arm, a masterpiece of human engineering that was more advanced than most alien communication systems, interfaced directly with the scout ship's computer, running diagnostics faster than any organic being could process. Outside the viewport, the alien debris field stretched like a graveyard of forgotten technology. Massive fragments of destroyed ships, some clearly centuries old, others smoking from recent conflict, drifted in a macabre dance of twisted metal and frozen remnants of life. The Zarkai patrol ship that had scanned her vessel moments ago had already moved on, its sensors registering nothing more than another piece of cosmic wreckage. They were wrong. "Come on, baby," Aria muttered, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that materialized from her neural link. The ship's systems were held together by nothing more than her skill, improvised repairs, and what could only be described as pure human stubbornness. A soft chime indicated her data extraction was complete. Terabytes of classified alien communication logs were now encrypted within her ship's most secure systems. Information that could change everything. A weapon more powerful than any plasma cannon or quantum disruptor. Knowledge. The ship lurched. Another system failure. The primary oxygen recycler was showing critical levels. Aria's augmented eyes, a patchwork of biological and synthetic components, calculated their survival window with brutal precision. 37 minutes of breathable air remained. Most would have given up. Most would have accepted the inevitable. Aria Rodriguez was not most people. Her mind raced through potential solutions. The neural implants connected to her cerebral cortex began running simulations faster than any alien supercomputer. Reroute power from non-essential systems. Compress the life support grid. Cannibalize emergency beacon energy. Outside, the cold emptiness of space seemed to press against the ship's hull. Remnants of previous encounters were etched into the metal, scorch marks from near-miss energy weapons, micro-meteor impacts, the subtle scratches of survival. A memory flickered. Her grandmother's words from years ago. Humanity survives not because we're the strongest, but because we refuse to accept defeat. The ship groaned. Another system failed. 17 minutes of air left. Aria's prosthetic arm began a complex series of micro-adjustments. Nanite repair systems activated, crawling through the ship's internal structure like microscopic soldiers, fighting a desperate battle against entropy and mechanical failure. 12 minutes. A breakthrough. The neural interface found a solution, a dangerous, impossible solution that would make any alien navigation a short circuit from the sheer improvisational madness of it. She smiled. Humans had always been good at impossible. The research station looked like organized chaos, if chaos could be considered organized by a particularly manic genius. Holographic displays twisted and folded in impossible geometries. Circuit boards hung from magnetic clamps like industrial wind chimes, and half-empty coffee mugs created a landscape of caffeine-fueled innovation. Dr. Maya Chen stood at the center of this controlled madness, her augmented eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. Around her, a team of researchers that could only be described as brilliantly eccentric worked with a frenetic energy that would make traditional scientific establishments weep. "We're missing something," she muttered, tracing quantum entanglement patterns that danced like living things across her primary display. Dr. Raj Mehta, her most unconventional team member, looked up from a nest of quantum processors. His hands were covered in circuit board burns, and a half-eaten protein bar hung from his mouth. "What if," he said, words muffled by processed nutrients, "we're approaching this backward?" Maya's eyebrow raised, the universal sign of scientific intrigue. The current problem was seemingly impossible. Creating a communication network that could transmit information instantaneously across vast cosmic distances without the limitations that plagued existing alien communication technologies. Every major galactic civilization had tried and failed. The Tsar K believed it was fundamentally impossible. Humans loved impossible. Raj's fingers flew across holographic interfaces, pulling apart existing communication theories like a child dismantling a toy. Traditional quantum entanglement relies on maintaining perfect quantum states, he explained, more to himself than anyone else. But what if we don't try to maintain? What if we embrace the chaos? Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to the space captain, but equally driven, joined the conversation. Her cybernetic implants hummed softly, processing data at speeds that would make most AI systems jealous. Controlled entropy, she whispered. We're not trying to prevent information degradation. We're using it as a feature. The team fell silent. This was more than a technical breakthrough. This was a fundamental reimagining of information transfer. Maya's neural interfaces began running simulations. Billions of potential configurations collapsed and expanded in microseconds. The station's quantum computers pushed themselves to theoretical limits, cooling systems working overtime to prevent total meltdown. 3 days, 17 hours, 22 minutes. A breakthrough. The first transmission burst through. A message that didn't just move through space, but seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Information that was both sent and not sent, received and not received, defying every known law of communication. The alien scientific community would call it impossible. Humans called it Tuesday. Raj let out a whoop of pure, unadulterated joy. Elena's cybernetic components sparked with excitement. Maya just smiled, a smile that spoke of something far beyond a simple scientific achievement. This was a declaration. Humanity wasn't just participating in the galactic scientific community. They were about to rewrite its fundamental rules. The holographic war room hummed with tension. Alien strategists from 3 different civilizations stared in disbelief as Captain Area Rodriguez outlined a strategy that defied every known principle of interstellar warfare. You want to do what? Commander Zexalik of the Krultheri delegation asked, his tentacle-like appendages writhing in confusion. Area's smile was razor-sharp. Disable without destroying. Disrupt without annihilating. The conflict had been raging for generations, a complex web of territorial disputes, resource wars, and ancient grudges that had consumed entire star systems. Traditional military doctrine demanded total elimination of opponents. Humanity saw something different, a problem to be solved, not an enemy to be destroyed. Dr. Maya Chen stood beside Area, her quantum communication breakthrough providing the technological backbone to an unprecedented military approach. Where alien warships relied on massive energy weapons and destructive force, the human strategy was surgical, intelligent, precise. Watch, Area said. The holographic display showed a series of coordinate points that looked like random scatter to the alien strategists. But to human eyes, it was a symphony of strategic brilliance. Their first target was a massive communication relay, the neural network that connected 3 alien civilizations' military commands. Instead of destroying it, they would infiltrate, not with traditional viruses or electronic warfare, but with something far more sophisticated. Quantum entangled information packets that would simultaneously exist and not exist within the network. Signals that would confuse enemy systems, create impossible routing problems, and fundamentally break their communication infrastructure without firing a single destructive shot. This is madness, muttered Admiral Vrel of the Zarkai fleet. His scaled features twisted in a mixture of confusion and growing concern. Area's prosthetic arm interfaced with the holographic display, manipulating complex data streams with inhuman precision. Warfare isn't about destruction, she explained. It's about communication, about understanding, about solving the underlying problem. The first strike came not with weapons, but with information. Quantum communication packets began to flood the alien network, not as an attack, but as a complex puzzle. Each packet carried multiple potential states of information, creating a computational nightmare for alien defense systems. Routing algorithms collapsed. Communication channels became labyrinths of impossible data. Within hours, 3 major alien fleets found themselves unable to coordinate, not because their systems were destroyed, but because they were fundamentally confused. Dr. Chen's voice was calm. "We're not fighting against them. We're solving a problem they didn't know existed." The alien strategists watched in growing horror and fascination. This wasn't warfare as they understood it. This was something else entirely, a form of conflict resolution that didn't rely on destruction, but on understanding. Arya looked at the holographic display. 3 major fleet movements, completely neutralized. 0 casualties. Complete strategic victory. "Humanity," she said quietly, "doesn't fight wars. We solve problems." The universe was about to learn the difference. The Galactic Confederation's central hub was a marvel of architectural and technological integration, a massive construct that had stood as the pinnacle of diplomatic and economic power for millennia. Today, it would meet its match in human innovation. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez walked its gleaming corridors, her presence both understated and electric. Behind her sophisticated diplomatic attire, a network of quantum-encrypted communication systems and adaptive AI interfaces hummed with potential. She wasn't just a diplomat. She was a systems disruptor. The conference room fell silent as she entered. Representatives from 17 different alien civilizations watched her with a mixture of curiosity and growing unease. The traditional diplomatic dance was about to change, dramatically. "We're here to solve problems," Elena began, "not maintain them." Her presentation wasn't a traditional diplomatic brief. It was a comprehensive reimagining of interstellar cooperation, where previous negotiations had been about territorial lines, resource allocation, and complex political boundaries. Elena's approach was fundamentally different. She unveiled a holographic model that looked less like a political map and more like a living, breathing ecosystem of potential. Each civilization wasn't a fixed point, but a dynamic node of interconnected possibilities. Dr. Maya Chen's quantum communication breakthrough provided the technological backbone. The Zarkay, chief economist, leaned forward, his multiple eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of profound confusion and emerging understanding. "You're suggesting," he stammered, "that economic boundaries are not walls, but interfaces." Elena's smile was both warm and razor-sharp. "Boundaries are opportunities for collaboration, not conflicts." The model she presented was revolutionary. Instead of fixed trade routes and rigid economic zones, she proposed a fluid, adaptive network where resources, knowledge, and opportunity could flow like a living current. It wasn't just an economic model. It was a philosophical statement about existence itself. Artificial intelligence systems integrated into the diplomatic network began processing the proposal. Traditional algorithms designed to protect existing power structures started to collapse, replaced by more dynamic, adaptive models. The Kreltheri diplomatic corps looked terrified. The Zarkai economic ministers looked excited. The other civilizations oscillated between confusion and grudging fascination. "This isn't about who has the most resources," Elena explained. "This is about maximizing collective potential." Her neural interfaces were working overtime, running millions of potential scenarios simultaneously. Where traditional diplomats saw obstacles, she saw solutions. Where others saw boundaries, she saw bridges. The quantum communication network that Dr. Chen had developed began to weave through the diplomatic interfaces. Information wasn't just being shared, it was being transformed, adapted, reimagined in real time. One by one, the alien representatives realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. This wasn't a negotiation. This was a fundamental reconstruction of how civilizations could interact. "We're not asking for permission," Elena said softly, her words carrying the weight of a fundamental truth. "We're offering a new way of existing." The universe held its breath. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of engagement, not through force, but through imagination. The Zarkai High Council chamber pulsed with an electric tension that went beyond mere political anxiety. Holographic representations of the most powerful leaders in the known galaxy flickered with an almost tangible fear. Grand strategist Clerics, whose species had dominated galactic politics for over 12 millennia, spoke first. His translucent form wavered, a reflection of both his holographic projection and his inner turmoil. "Humanity is not just a threat," he said, his multiple vocal organs producing a sound that translated as a mixture of terror and grudging respect. "They are a fundamental challenge to our entire understanding of existence." The council chamber fell silent. Dr. Valeria Chen's recent diplomatic and technological interventions had done more than disrupt systems. They had exposed the fragility of civilizations that had considered themselves immutable. The quantum communication network developed by her team wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a philosophical revolution. "They don't think like us," whispered Ambassador Zora of the Krelthari Collective. "They don't see boundaries where we see walls. They don't recognize limitations we've accepted for millennia." The holographic displays showed a rapidly evolving network of human interventions. Each node represented not a point of conflict, but a potential point of transformation. Where alien civilizations saw threats, humans saw opportunities. Where established powers saw rigid structures, humans saw fluid possibilities. Captain Aria Rodriguez's military strategies had already rewritten the fundamental understanding of conflict. Her approach wasn't about destruction, but about comprehensive problem-solving. Entire fleet movements had been neutralized without firing a single weapon, a concept that broke every known principle of warfare. "We are facing an organism," Grand Strategist Clerics continued, "that does not recognize the rules we have established. An adaptive, transformative force that sees our most complex systems as mere puzzles to be solved." The true terror wasn't humanity's technological capability. It was their philosophical approach. Humanity didn't want to conquer. They'd wanted to understand. They didn't seek to destroy. They sought to transform. Each holographic representative began to realize that traditional defensive strategies were useless. How do you defend against an approach that doesn't recognize your defenses as meaningful obstacles? Dr. Maya Chen's quantum communication breakthrough had done more than create a new communication technology. It had exposed the fundamental limitations of existing communication paradigms. Information was no longer a fixed resource to be controlled, but a dynamic entity to be understood. "We cannot contain them," Ambassador Zora said, her voice a mixture of terror and reluctant admiration. "We can only hope to understand them." The Zarkai High Council understood then what true fear meant. It wasn't the fear of destruction. It was the fear of fundamental transformation. Humanity wasn't an enemy to be defeated. They were a force of nature, unpredictable, adaptive, relentlessly creative. And they were just getting started. The economic embargo was supposed to be absolute, a coordinated effort by 17 advanced civilizations to strangle humanity's technological and economic growth. Massive quantum-locked trade barriers, communication blockades, and resource restrictions that should have been impossible to circumvent. They didn't understand who they were dealing with. Captain Aria Rodriguez leaned back in the command center of humanity's most advanced adaptive economic platform, a system that was part research station, part economic engine, part diplomatic hub. Around her, a team of economists, engineers, and strategists worked with a fluidity that defied traditional organizational structures. "They think we play by their rules," Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Aria, muttered, her augmented eyes scanning multiple economic simulations simultaneously. "We don't have rules. We have solutions." The first response came not through traditional economic channels, but through a completely unexpected vector. A network of independent human researchers, entrepreneurs, and innovators began creating alternative economic ecosystems. Where alien civilizations saw blockades, humans saw opportunities. Cryptocurrency evolved into something far beyond simple digital tokens. Human-developed quantum-adaptive economic models became living, breathing entities that could reshape themselves instantaneously. Trade routes weren't blocked. They were reimagined. The Zarkai economic ministers watched in growing horror as their carefully constructed barriers began to dissolve. Dr. Maya Chen's quantum communication network provided the infrastructure. Small human colonies began developing microeconomies that could adapt faster than any centralized system could track. Resources flowed like water, finding paths where traditional economic models would have seen only walls. It's not about breaking their system, Arya explained to the team. It's about showing them that their system is just one possible approach. Micro-manufacturing technologies developed in human research stations could produce complex components with resources that other civilizations would have considered worthless. Adaptive AI systems turned economic restrictions into optimization challenges. The embargo wasn't just failing. It was transforming into something else entirely. Alien civilizations had expected humanity to fight back with traditional methods: military force, diplomatic pressure, counter-sanctions. Instead, humans did something far more dangerous. They adapted. They transformed. They solved. A young economist named Raj Mehta unveiled a breakthrough that made the other team members pause. "We're not circumventing their system," he said with a wild gleam in his eye. "We're demonstrating that their entire economic model is just one possible approach to resource allocation." The human response wasn't resistance. It was revelation. Entire economic models were being rewritten in real time. Where alien civilizations saw barriers, humans saw puzzles. Where others saw limitations, humans saw potential. By the time the alien economic ministers realized what was happening, it was too late. Humanity hadn't just survived the embargo. They had used it as an opportunity to demonstrate a fundamentally different way of existing. "We don't fight systems," Arya said, watching the economic simulations dance across the holographic displays. "We solve them." The universe was about to learn the difference. The final confrontation wasn't what anyone expected. 17 alien civilizations had assembled their most powerful fleet, a massive armada that stretched across multiple star systems, quantum weapons capable of shattering planets, dimensional disruption technologies that could unmake entire solar systems. The combined might of millennia of technological advancement, all focused on one target: humanity. Captain Arya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the adaptive command vessel Prometheus, a ship that was less a traditional warship and more a living, thinking organism. Her neural interfaces hummed with potential, connected to a network of strategies that defied conventional military doctrine. "They think this is about destruction," she said quietly to Dr. Maya Chen, who stood beside her. "We know it's about understanding." The alien fleet approached with mathematical precision. Massive battleships that had conquered entire civilizations, weapons that could reduce continents to atomic dust. A show of force meant to demonstrate the futility of resistance. They didn't understand resistance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum communication network began to activate, not as a weapon, but as a bridge. Each incoming weapon signal was simultaneously received and transformed. Offensive capabilities were being turned into communication channels. "Incoming attack vectors," the ship's AI announced. But there was something different in its tone. Not fear, curiosity. The first wave of alien weapons fired, quantum pulses that should have reduced entire regions to plasma. But something unexpected happened. The weapons didn't destroy. They connected. Massive energy discharges became conduits of information. Destructive potential transformed into communication. The alien fleet found its most advanced weapons becoming unexpected bridges of understanding. "We're not fighting," Arya explained to the bewildered alien commanders, whose communications she was simultaneously intercepting and reinterpreting. "We're solving a problem you didn't know existed." Massive holographic displays showed the transformation in real time. Weapon systems became communication networks. Destructive potential became collaborative potential. The most advanced military technologies in the galaxy were being reimagined faster than their creators could comprehend. The Zarkai fleet commander watched in growing horror and fascination. Their ultimate weapon of destruction was becoming something else entirely. Not defeated, transformed. Dr. Maya Chen's quantum algorithms were working overtime. Each incoming attack was being parsed, understood, and repurposed. Destruction became data. Conflict became communication. "This isn't warfare," she said, her voice calm. "This is problem-solving." The alien civilizations had come expecting to crush humanity. They were discovering something far more terrifying. Humanity wasn't something to be destroyed. It was something to be understood. As the final moments of the confrontation approached, the universe held its breath. This wasn't a battle. This was a transformation, and humanity was just getting started. The Galactic Confederation's Central Archive would forever mark this moment as the day everything changed. Not through conquest, not through destruction, but through understanding. Captain Aria Rodriguez stood before the assembled representatives of 17 civilizations, her presence both understated and monumental. Behind her, a holographic display showed the intricate network of transformations humanity had initiated, not a map of territories, but a living ecosystem of potential. "We're not here to replace your systems," she began, her voice carrying the weight of a fundamental truth. "We're here to demonstrate that systems are living things. They can grow. They can adapt. They can become something more." Dr. Maya Chen and Dr. Elena Rodriguez flanked her, each representing different aspects of humanity's comprehensive approach. Where traditional diplomatic encounters would have involved rigid presentations and defensive posturing, this was something else entirely. The quantum communication network they had developed wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a philosophical statement about existence itself. Information wasn't a resource to be controlled, but a living entity to be understood. For millennia, Aria continued, civilizations have seen boundaries as walls. We see them as interfaces, opportunities for connection, potential for transformation. The alien representatives watched, a mixture of fear, fascination, and grudging respect playing across their varied physiological expressions. The Zarkai chief diplomat's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of profound cognitive recalibration. What humanity had done went beyond traditional concepts of diplomacy, warfare, or economic interaction. They had demonstrated a fundamental approach to existence that challenged every established paradigm. The economic models developed by human researchers had shown that resources weren't fixed quantities to be hoarded, but dynamic potentials to be optimized. The military strategies had proven that conflict could be a process of understanding rather than destruction. The communication technologies had revealed that information was a living, adaptive entity. "We're not special," Elena said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We're just willing to ask different questions." The holographic display began to shift, showing how human interventions had transformed existing systems. Conflict zones became collaborative research centers. Economic barriers became innovation corridors. Communication blockades became knowledge networks. The universe had underestimated humanity. Now, it was learning to understand them. Dr. Maya Chen's final presentation was both a technological marvel and a philosophical statement, a living, adaptive model that showed how different civilizations could interact not as competitors, but as part of a larger, interconnected ecosystem. "This isn't about winning," Aria said in her closing remarks. "This is about potential, about understanding that our differences are not barriers, but opportunities." As the presentation concluded, something fundamental had changed. The alien civilizations that had come expecting to contain humanity were leaving with something far more profound. A new way of seeing. The universe would never be the same, and humanity was just beginning to explore its potential. "We're not here to conquer," Captain Rodriguez said softly, her words hanging in the air like a promise. "We're here to understand."